Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Revelation. We are here with this session again, talking about heaven and the end of this world. Sermon Heaven Bound. We are heaven bound now. We'll go right into it. John 14, 1-3. Let not your heart be troubled. Ye believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, there ye may be also. Well, friends, what a promise from God himself. He promised not to send an angel just to pick us up, but he said he will come back to wake us up and to take us. Why? Because he shed his own blood for us. And friends, when God gave his life, there was nothing left. He did not have to do that. But out of the abundance of love, he gave his life for us. We know that heaven is a place, while some people don't believe it exists. But heaven is a place, and God has prepared that place for you. Let me say this. I told a friend of mine, I said, if you allow this earth did not do good to you, and there's a place coming that will do good to you, that you'll have joy forever, would you lose that? This world wasn't good for you, and the world coming is good. If you did not accept it, then neither this life or the life to come will not be good for you. Heaven is not a mythical place. It is the holy dwelling of the Lord Most High. It is said that earth has no sorrow that heaven cannot cure. The reason being, that's where God is. Now, especially the well-learned and advanced in education and science and all of these subjects don't believe in God, most of them. I've been fortunate to have witnessed some most breathtaking places. I believe you, friends, heaven surpassed all of them. I can't imagine what it will be. Sometimes I think and I try to conceive it in my mind. Sometimes I go to my bed and I think about heaven. But the good news is there's nothing that you can do that you cannot go there. Heaven is prepared for all of us. It is very simple. And while others are running from it, God is chasing you to come back. You don't know what is good for you. And sometimes I feel like I cannot make it. Sometimes I feel like I'm not good enough. Sometimes I'm worried about the present, the past, and even the future. But today, right now, I believe I can make it. It is not what you can do to go to heaven. It's what God has already done for you. So a lot of people are worried about going to heaven. They can't make it because I'm not worthy. You can't buy heaven. You could give all the money to the church. You could do all the good you can, sell all the goods you can and send it abroad. You could fast. You could walk on your knees and steps, thousands of. You can't do anything to get there. You will get there because Jesus loves you. And he said, come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. When you build a house here, you take about 9 months to do so. God said, I go to prepare a place. And Jesus left here 2,000 years ago. And he's preparing a place. Friends, heaven is real. And while others doubt its existence, it is located beyond the firmament, up. The song says, somewhere beyond the blue, there is a mansion for you and for me. There are a lot of men who will tell you that there's no heaven. When Jesus taught his disciples to pray, he said, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. When Jesus was raised from the dead, Jesus went up to heaven. So heaven is above. Acts 1:11. When Jesus left to go to glory, the angel said to the Galileans, Ye men of Galilee, why stand gazing up into heaven? This same Jesus, which is taken up from you into heaven, shall so come in like manner. So Jesus went up to heaven. So while some folks believe heaven doesn't exist, or it exists somewhere else, heaven is in heaven. He said he will come in like manner as he goes up into heaven. Now, there are 3 heavens, all created by God, and I'll tell you much about them. The first is our atmospheric heaven. We exist, in this area here, where the rain comes from, and you can see the sky, you can see the rainbow. Psalm 78, verse 23, the scriptures speak of God opening the doors of heaven to provide food or rain. The atmospheric heaven. That's where rain comes from. Right? So that's not where God is now. The second heaven is the outer space. The Bible calls it the firmament and includes the sun, the moon, and the stars. And God allows men to go to the firmament. Men land on the moon. Genesis 1:14. And God said, Let there be light in the firmament, and the heavens to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs, and for seasons, and for days, and years. Now, so we understand you have the first heaven, and the second heaven, the firmament. Now the third heaven is where God dwells, and is located beyond space, beyond the stars. Man will never able to get there by developing technology. Our focus tonight is on the heaven of heavens, the eternal place where God dwells, where there are so many conflicting statements around this subject about heaven and about even hell. Some people don't believe in heaven and they don't believe in hell. When I think of heaven, my imagination is elevated. and the powers of my mind goes into gear. Heaven is not a mere delightful place. No, it's beyond our comprehension. As far as you could stretch your imagination, you could not fathom the glory and the majesty and the beauty of heaven. One of the greatest powers in man is to imagine. And some of the greatest imaginations from man springs from poets and painters. See, they think and imagine something and they just do it. In contemplation about the subject, poets let their imagination fly with loosened wings because they're thinking and they're drawing. However, imagination cannot give the slightest picture. It doesn't matter how you see this beautiful picture with gardens and trees and beauties. It is nothing compared to what's in heaven, where God dwells. Eyes have not seen, or ear heard, or enter into the imagination of man. And we are privileged as sinners to go there. Knowledge or intelligence can make comparison of great cities and mansions and beautiful gardens and sculptures and paintings. But no man has literally seen the splendor of heaven. And therefore, comparison cannot be made with God's design and earthly things or earthly paintings. You can't compare them. There's nothing to compare. You can't look at this painting and say, this look like heaven. Well, this look like heaven because you see something over there, because we are only finite. We can only see beauty by comparison. 2 Corinthians 4:18. While we look not at the things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen. For the things which are seen are just temporal. But the things which are not seen are spiritual or eternal. So, what heaven looked like, no man can paint a picture or give a true example of what heaven is all about. There was an interview with Stephen Hawkins, the English theoretical physicist, a bright and brilliant man, cosmologist, and author in which celebrate scientists, in which the celebrated scientist said, "There is no heaven. That is a fairy story for people afraid of the dark." He said, and he's a bright, brilliant scholar. Can't beat him. But he said, there is nothing like heaven. Oh, friends, do not believe Mr. Stephen. While words cannot fitly describe the place where God dwells, in vision, Isaiah viewed the inmost part or portion of heaven, which is known as the Holy of Holiest. And, I would imagine that men today, the way how they are acting with AI and so, they will try to get there. But no instrument can be built to get to the Holy of Holiest. Isaiah 6:1, Isaiah said, when he looked in heaven, he wanted to see the beauty. God's throne looking like a blazing fire. He saw God high and lifted up, and his trail filled the temple. That's the words he used. Perhaps it's not exactly, but he's trying to use words. The thought is holy, but the words, that's what he could use, that we could identify with it, right? Above the throne stood the seraphim. Those are angels. Those are his angels, God's angels. Each one had 6 wings. With 2, he covered his feet. And with twain, he covered his, he did fly. And one cried unto another and said, Holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory. Man, that's a vision I would like to have. And the post, he said, of the door moved at the voice of him that cried. God's voice was so powerful. And the house was filled with smoke. So he had that beautiful vision of what heaven is like. The beautiful streets, which had the appearance of being paved with gold. Now, gold down here is so expensive. Huh? But we'll walk on it, as I told you before. It will worth much in that type of gold up there. But it's a description that he used to show us what beauty is like. Micah also saw the Lord sitting on his throne, surrounded by the heavenly council. Beautiful scene. Isaiah became conscious that it's not an ordinary vision, because he was in the presence of God. Now, could you imagine a human being, found himself in front of God, but it's a vision. The consciousness of guilt when he saw God and unworthiness of his sins pressed heavily upon him. When the angels sang, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord, he understood some measure of what holiness means. He looks on himself, and when he saw himself and looked and saw heaven and what takes place there, he cried out, Woe is me, for I am a man of unclean lips, and I dwell amid people of unclean lips. For mine eyes have seen the King, the Lord of hosts, the Creator of the world. Man, perhaps he didn't want to come back to earth. When you see things like that and know what you have to come back to, fighting and killing and stabbing. No, he said, Woe is me. Heaven is a wonderful place. I want you to make sure, by God's grace, you will be there. Join me next week when we'll continue with heaven, the Christian's paradise. See, when we think of heaven, we must think of a real place, a paradise filled with joy on earth. Our sorrow is so long now, and our joys is so short. One day we will laugh. 10 days we cry today, there must be a better place. And 10 days we have little joy, there must be a better place. So join me next week for that better place.
What heavenly music steals over the sea, entrancing the senses like sweet melody. 'Tis the voice of the angels born soft on the air. For me they are singing their welcome I hear. On the banks of old Jordan, he gazing I stand, and honestly longing I stretch forth my hand. Send a convoy of angels, be Jesus I pray. Let me join